And now it's time for a Q&A from you, the viewers. And our first question comes in from Craig Long, who keeps seeing these cheap 2 terabyte flash drives popping up on eBay. And he was curious about whether or not they are any good. Now, if you want the too long didn't read on this, all of these cheap flash cards that you see that are running at 2 terabytes or thereabouts are total frauds. And unfortunately, there is a lot of them on eBay. So just on this listing that Craig pointed out, you'll find a lot of other fraudulent listings here. So here's one for $8, 2 terabytes. Yeah, right. Another one here, $3.51. That's the popular one. And when you dig into these listings, it all looks legit, right? You've got a seller here with a huge amount of positive feedback, 98.7%. Very few negatives on their account. Although they sell so much stuff, it's probably hard to get enough of a negative rating here to make an impact on their overall profile. And this is an example of one that's selling for $9.78, supposedly 2 terabytes. They've sold well over 1,300 of them according to eBay, which is kind of frightening, actually. But what these cards do is that they basically trick your computer into thinking they are indeed a 2 terabyte device. It'll actually show up as 2 terabytes when you plug it in. But the reality is it may only have like 32 gigs or so on the card itself. So once you go beyond that 32, everything gets corrupted because it starts overwriting what was already there. And these are appearing on other platforms as well. Here's an example from one on Walmart, the same card we saw on eBay. But get this one, they've got 3.0 2 terabyte flash drive in the image there. But the listing here has it at 32 gigabytes. So I wonder if maybe Walmart called them out on it and they just switched it to 32 in the title to be more accurate. The problem, though, is that when you get this thing, it's going to show up as 2 terabytes, and you got to figure out when you hit that 32 gigabyte limit before your data gets corrupted. You're also going to find them on Amazon. This one costs a little bit more, but again, another fake thing from a fake seller. This one is even giving you Amazon Prime because Amazon is actually stocking it on behalf of that seller through their fulfillment program. So this stuff is out there everywhere. And this is just one type of product. There's a lot of other stuff out there that might be a counterfeit or some other kind of dangerous device that these platforms have largely just said, hey, we're not responsible for what people do. We'll take something down if it's really egregious, but we really just can't control it. So, buyer beware. But I think they could be doing a little bit more. And apparently some courts agree with that. So there was an appeals court ruling about a week or two ago where Amazon and others can be held responsible for defective third-party goods. And what these platforms have been able to hide behind has been the DMCA, which is the same law that applies to me here on YouTube, and that I could upload some copyrighted piece of content, and so long as YouTube takes down that content when the owner asks for it to be removed, they're off the hook. And that's largely what Amazon and others have been saying about these marketplaces. But every state has a different definition of what defines a seller for actually selling physical goods to somebody. And in the case of this particular court ruling, the appeals court ruled that yes, Amazon does have protection against what is done from an editorial standpoint as far as the words on screen. But when you're looking at the actual negligence of the product safety, there could be some liability there because Amazon is an actor in the sales process and not just a publisher of content in this instance, and that would not give them the same protection. This lawsuit was brought up by a woman who had bought a dog collar on Amazon. The collar failed because it was poorly manufactured from one of these Chinese companies. The collar broke and her retractable leash snapped back and injured her eye to the point that her eye no longer works. She went blind in an eye over this defective dog collar, and her attorneys have been suing Amazon because they could not find the seller that was selling it. They just disappeared off the face of the planet. Even Amazon couldn't find them to try to get some relief here. So this might change things if people end up with a claim and their state has a very set definition about what a seller is in this instance. So we might see something happen here, but for now, buyer beware. I always make sure I buy things directly from Amazon when we've got something like a USB drive or a hard drive, for example. And I also try to stick to the name brands as well. There's a great video, though, that we're going to have as our pick of the week from Linus Tech Tips, who dives really deep into this subject. He shows you how these cards work or really don't work, the kinds of tricks that they're doing to make them look like they hold more storage than they can, and also some warnings about what goes on in some of these factories, because occasionally you can find a SanDisk card that was made on a SanDisk line, but was made after hours without all the quality control. And these counterfeiters are buying up these cards that came off the same line and selling them for less, a lot of times on Amazon, and sometimes making their way into devices that you might buy from China as well. So lots of stuff to be concerned about just on these flashcards, and Linus's video here is a great way to learn more about it.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters, the 4 Guys with Quarters podcast, emudev.org, Tom Albrecht, Brian Parker, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.